Every Sunday morning, my wife parked across from the same house and never got out of the car. I only noticed because retirement changed my sleep. Before that, I left home before 6 on Sundays to open the distribution yard where I worked. By the time I came back, Denise had already gone to church, bought groceries, or done whatever else filled her morning. After I retired, I started waking before dawn with nowhere to be. That was when I saw the pattern. At 6:20, Denise backed out of our driveway in Cedar Falls, Iowa. At 6:35, she parked on Linden Avenue across from a two-story house with pale siding and a maple tree in the front yard. She stayed 20 minutes, never longer. Then she came home carrying coffee and acted as if she had only driven around. The first time I asked, she said, "I just needed to make sure everything was okay." What was okay? She placed her coffee beside the sink. "Nothing you need to worry about." Then she changed the subject. "My name is Arthur Hale. I was 70 when this happened. Denise and I had been married 43 years. She had never been a secretive woman. She told me when the grocery store changed managers. She told me which neighbor had started smoking again. She told me when she thought I was breathing too hard on the stairs. But she would not explain one quiet house on Linden Avenue. The following Sunday, I drove behind her. I parked half a block away. Denise watched the front door. A man in his 40s came outside carrying a travel mug. He checked the mailbox, looked toward her car, and smiled. Denise smiled back. He stood there for several seconds. Then a woman opened the door and called him inside. Denise waited until he disappeared. Her hand rose to her mouth. For one sick moment, I believed I was watching my wife look at a man she had once loved. Then she started the car and drove home to me. I followed her again the next Sunday. This time, 2 children came outside. A boy in pajama pants dragged a basketball toward the driveway. A younger girl chased him in socks. The man from the week before appeared behind them. He bounced the ball once, passed it to the boy, and nearly knocked over a trash can. Denise laughed inside her car. I could not hear her, but I saw her shoulders move. The woman came out next. She wore a robe and carried a mug. The man slipped one arm around her waist. Denise looked away. That detail confused me more than jealousy would have. She was not watching the man the way a woman watches someone she wants. She was watching the whole family. At home, she made pancakes. I sat across from her and tried to find a question that did not sound like an accusation. "Do you know anybody on Linden Avenue?" The spatula stopped above the griddle. "Why?" "I drove through there." She turned a pancake. "It's a public street. Do you know the family in the gray house?" Her back stiffened. "No." The answer came too fast. I said, "The man smiled at you." "People smile." "He recognized your car." She shut off the burner. "What exactly are you asking me, Arthur?" I did not know. "Are you in love with him? Are those children connected to you? Have you been living a second life for 15 years, 20 minutes at a time?" Instead, I said, "I want to understand why my wife watches strangers every Sunday morning." Denise stacked the pancakes on a plate. "I don't watch strangers." Then she carried breakfast to the table and refused to say anything else. That sentence stayed with me. Not strangers. I spent the week noticing small things I had ignored for years. Every Sunday, Denise wore the same blue cardigan. She bought coffee from the same shop. If snow covered the road, she went anyway. On Easter morning, she left earlier. On Christmas, she stayed almost 40 minutes. That Sunday, I parked closer. A teenage girl stepped onto the porch. Denise gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. The girl had Denise's eyes. That resemblance was probably imagination. Once suspicion enters a marriage, it starts manufacturing evidence. The girl wore her hair the way Denise had in old photographs. She tilted her head when she listened. She laughed with her whole face. I watched Denise watching her and felt something inside me rearrange. We had one son, Michael. There had never been another child. At least, that was what I believed. I went home before Denise and sat in the kitchen with every terrible possibility available to me. When she came in, she placed coffee on the counter. You follow me again. Yes. She closed her eyes. Arthur. Who is the girl? What girl? The teenager in that house. Denise removed her coat slowly. She is not mine. I didn't ask that. You were going to. I hated that she was right. She sat across from me. I asked, who lives there? A family. What family? A good one. That is not an answer. It is all I can give you today. Today, that word meant there was an answer, just not one she trusted me to hear. For 3 days, we spoke through household necessities. The furnace filter needed changing. Michael was bringing his wife for dinner. The cat had another appointment. At night, Denise lay facing the wall. On Wednesday, she found me in the garage sorting screws I had already sorted twice. She leaned against the doorframe. The man you saw is named Eric Madison. I waited. Do you know him? No. Have you ever spoken to him? No. The woman? No. The children? No. Then why do they know your car? They don't. He smiled at you. He smiles at everyone. I almost laughed. You've watched him for 15 years and never spoken to him? Not once. That was the first major truth. There had been no meetings, no hidden romance, no exchange words. For 15 years, Denise had sat across from a family of strangers simply to see them living. The answer did not lessen the mystery. It made it unbearable. I said, then tell me who they are. Denise looked toward the kitchen window. The girl's grandmother was named Claire Nolan. I knew that name. And suddenly Linden Avenue reached back into the worst year of our marriage. Claire Nolan rented the small house Denise and I owned before we moved to Cedar Falls. It stood behind an auto parts store in Waterloo. 2 bedrooms, narrow kitchen, bad insulation. Claire lived there with her husband, Ben, and their daughter, Hannah. Hannah was 8 when they moved in. Denise adored her. She helped with school projects, kept popsicles in our freezer. One spent an entire Saturday teaching Hannah how to sew a crooked pillowcase. Ben worked at a tire plant. Claire cleaned offices at night. They paid late sometimes, but they paid. Then the tire plant cut shifts. Ben lost half his hours. Claire began falling behind. That same year, my father needed assisted living. Michael had started college. Denise and I were arguing about money almost every night. The rental house was our only property besides our own. A developer offered cash for it and the lot beside it. The offer would cover my father's care and most of Michael's tuition. Denise wanted to wait. Claire needs 3 months, she told me. She has 30 days. You told me we could help them. We have helped them. Not like this. I remember standing at our kitchen counter with a calculator. Numbers had become the only language I trusted. I said, our family comes first. Denise went quiet. That should have warned me. Instead, I took it as agreement. I signed the sale contract 2 days later. Claire cried when we gave notice. Ben became angry. Hannah stood in their doorway holding the crooked pillowcase she had sewn with Denise. The family left Waterloo before the month ended. Denise told me they moved to Nebraska. For years, that was where the story stopped. What does that have to do with Linden Avenue? I asked. Denise folded her hands. Hannah lives there. The teenage girl I had seen was Hannah's daughter. Eric Madison was Hannah's husband. The family Denise watched was not connected to a secret romance. It was the grown life of a child we had once pushed out of a house. I said, you found her by accident. When? 15 years ago. The timing matched every Sunday. But Denise still had not explained why seeing Hannah alive required a ritual, or why she had hidden it from me. Denise first recognized Hannah at a grocery store. Hannah was 28, pregnant, and standing in line with a toddler. Denise followed her into the parking lot, not to speak, only to make sure. Hannah drove to Linden Avenue. The next Sunday, Denise returned. At first, she imagined apologizing. Then she saw Hannah carrying laundry, Eric shoveling snow, children drawing with chalk a birthday banner across a porch. They looked settled, Denise said. I was afraid walking up would make their life about us. You mean about you? Yes. I asked what happened after the Nolans left our rental. Ben found work in Council Bluffs and stayed there during the week. Claire remained with Hannah in a temporary apartment, hoping his job would become permanent. The distance wore them down. Ben drank more. Claire missed work when childcare failed. Hannah changed schools twice. They might have struggled anyway, I said. Maybe 6 months after they left, Claire called Denise. I had never known. What did she want? To ask whether the sale had closed. It had. I know. Claire said that if the house was still ours, she would pay what she could and repair things herself. Denise told her there was nothing to return to. Claire answered, You said we were safe there. Denise had promised we would not sell while Hannah was still in elementary school. You made that promise without asking me. Yes. And let me break it without knowing. Yes. Her betrayal did not erase mine. Mine did not erase hers. But I still did not understand why Denise never told me about the call. Her answer began with the night my father fell. My father fell at the assisted living facility 3 weeks after the sale. He broke his hip. Michael nearly dropped out of college to help us. The money from the rental house covered bills that would have buried us. I spent months telling Denise we had made the right decision, not a good one. The necessary one. She tried once to tell me about Claire's call. I remember the conversation only after she described it. We were in the hospital cafeteria. My father had just come out of surgery. Denise said, Claire and Ben are having trouble. I answered, We cannot save everybody. She asked, What if we help cause it? I said, Do not do this now. Then I walked away to call Michael. That was the second major truth. I had not known the full consequences, but I had shut the door when Denise tried to tell me. My rushed sale created the first wound. My refusal to discuss it gave the guilt a place to grow. Denise learned more over the years through people from Claire's old church. Ben moved to Nebraska permanently. He and Hannah lost contact for almost a decade. Claire worked 2 jobs. Hannah finished school, attended community college, and became a medical assistant. Claire died before Hannah married Eric. Not violently. Not young enough to make it a tragedy people would remember. A stroke at 59. I rubbed both hands over my face. Why didn't you tell me when Dad got better? I was angry. When Michael graduated, I was still angry. 10 years later? She looked at me. By then, silence was easier. She had watched me speak proudly about helping Michael finish college. She never reminded me whose rent had helped pay for it. That was punishment. I said, Some of it. And the rest? I thought guilt would change you into someone who needed Hannah to forgive him. That stung because it was true enough to frighten me. I would have gone to Linden Avenue. I would have explained the finances. I would have apologized until Hannah had to comfort me or asked me to leave. Denise believed watching quietly did less harm. She also admitted the routine became hers. 20 minutes every Sunday. Proof that Hannah's life had not ended where our decision damaged it. For 15 years, Denise watched birthdays, first days of school, snowmen, bicycles, arguments in the driveway, and groceries carried in after church. She knew nothing private, only what a person could see from a parked car. That mattered. It also did not make the secrecy harmless. You let me think Sunday was nothing, I said. I did. You watched a family connected to our past, and never once told me. Yes. Were you ever going to? I don't know. The answer was worse than no. We slept badly that week. On Tuesday, I woke near 3 and found Denise sitting at the kitchen table without the lights on. I filled a glass of water. She said, I did not go there because I wanted another life. I know. I went because I needed to see that she had one. I leaned against the counter. Did it help? Sometimes. And the other times, it reminded me I had no right to feel better. I sat across from her. For a while, The refrigerator hummed between us. Then I asked, "Did Hannah ever see you?" "Once." "When?" "About 7 years ago." Hannah came outside to bring in a package. She looked directly at Denise's car. Denise expected her to walk across the street. Instead, Hannah lifted one hand. Not a wave exactly, more like acknowledgement. Then she went inside. "You think she remembers you?" "Yes." "And she lets you sit there?" "I don't know what she lets me do." That sentence stayed with me. Denise might have believed she was invisible. She was not. Hannah may have recognized her for years and chosen not to close the distance. The silence belonged to both sides now. I wanted to knock on the door. Denise said no. "I need to apologize." "You need relief." "That is not fair." "No, it is accurate." I hated her for saying it. Then I hated myself because she was probably right. We began counseling the following month, not to decide whether the sale had been justified, to understand what we had done with the truth afterward. My first apology to Denise failed. I said, I was trying to protect our family. She answered, that is an explanation. The second one was better. I made the decision alone. She looked at me. Yes. Then she apologized. I let you live inside a cleaner version because I wanted you to stay there. That was cruel. Yes. She did not ask me to excuse it. Trust returned in small, uncomfortable ways. Denise told me before she drove to Linden Avenue. I stopped asking for details afterward. Some Sundays she stayed home. The first time, I noticed her looking at the clock at 6:35. Neither of us mentioned it. One afternoon, Michael came over to help install shelves. I nearly told him everything. Denise touched my arm. Not yet. I started to argue, then stopped. For once, I understood that honesty could still require timing. That did not mean silence forever. It meant the story involved Hannah too. I asked Denise whether she wanted to speak to her. I don't know. What if she wants us to? She knows where we live. That sounded passive. It was also true. On Saturday evening, Denise set her coffee cup beside the machine, then placed a second cup next to it. I looked at both. Is that for me? If you want. Do you want me there? She leaned against the counter. I want you to understand why I sit. I think I do. No, you understand why I started. That distinction mattered. The routine had changed over 15 years. At first, she watched from guilt, later from fear, then from something quieter. Hannah's children grew. Eric repaired the porch. The family argued and recovered. The house became ordinary. Denise kept returning, because ordinary was what she had once helped take from them. I asked, what happens if they move? She looked toward the dark kitchen window. I go home. The following morning, she picked up both coffee cups. I followed her to the car. We reached Linden Avenue at 6:34. Denise parked across from the gray house. I sat in the passenger seat. Neither of us spoke. The maple tree was bare. A bicycle lay on its side near the garage. After a minute, the porch light came on. Eric stepped outside in sweatpants and carried a trash bag to the curb. He glanced toward our car, then away. The front door opened again. Hannah came out wearing a robe. She handed him something he had forgotten. They stood together for a moment, talking. Then Hannah looked across the street, directly at us. Denise's hand tightened around her coffee cup. Hannah paused. Her face did not change in any way I could read. A little girl appeared behind her and wrapped both arms around her waist. Hannah looked down, rested one hand on the child's shoulder, and turned back toward the house. The three of them went inside. The porch light remained on. We sat for several more minutes. Denise did not cry. Neither did I. At 6:52, she placed her coffee in the cup holder. I looked at her. Ready? She nodded. Denise started the engine. The heater came on with a low rush of air. We pulled away from the curb. In the side mirror, the gray house grew smaller. The porch light was still burning. Neither of us spoke. and together we drove home.